In the vastness of the galaxy, the Galactic Council stood as a symbol of unity and peace. For 3,000 years, various alien species had come together to share knowledge, trade, and grow. This council was meant to keep the peace, and it did so through careful discussions and agreements. However, beneath this calm surface, tensions were brewing. On a distant planet called Varenthia, a small human colony thrived. The humans, known for their resourcefulness and creativity, had set up farms and industries, contributing to the council's economy. But not everyone appreciated their presence. Some alien species viewed humans as a threat, fearing their unpredictability and ambition. One day, a group of Varenthian locals, feeling disrespected by the humans, confronted them. Words were exchanged and tempers flared. The humans, trying to explain their side, found themselves in a heated argument. Suddenly, a fight broke out. The clash between humans and Varenthians quickly escalated, and what started as a misunderstanding turned into chaos. News of the conflict reached the Galactic Council swiftly. Council members gathered in the Grand Chamber, a vast room filled with representatives from various species. The atmosphere was tense. Some members pushed for peace, insisting that the fight was just a small problem that could be resolved. They argued that humans had been a valuable part of the council and that it would be foolish to turn against them. However, others saw this as an opportunity. A faction led by the Zorath, a species known for their cunning ways, argued that humans were a danger to their way of life. If we allow this to continue, they will think they can act with impunity, one Zorath representative declared, his voice echoing through the chamber. We must show them that we will not tolerate such behavior. The debate raged on, and the council found itself split. Some members wanted to calm the situation and send peacekeepers to Varenthia, while others called for immediate action against the humans. Tensions ran high as the Zorath faction gained more supporters, swaying weaker council members with their persuasive words. As discussions continued, the council was bombarded with reports about the fight. News networks spread stories of the incident, twisting the facts to paint the humans in a bad light. "Humans attack innocent Varenthians!" screamed headlines, igniting fear among the other species. The propaganda painted humans as violent and uncontrollable, fueling the fire within the council. Finally, after days of intense debate, a vote was called. The atmosphere in the council chamber was electric, with everyone on edge. Council members cast their votes, and when the results were announced, a chilling silence fell over the room. The majority had voted for war. The decision shocked those who believed in peace, but the Zorath faction celebrated, believing they had secured their dominance in the galaxy. Outside the council chamber, the galaxy buzzed with uncertainty. Species that had always seen humans as allies began to question their loyalty. Rumors spread like wildfire, and soon every corner of the galaxy was discussing the council's decision. Fear and distrust began to take root. On Earth, the news of the council's decision reached the leaders of the human nations. Confused and alarmed, they gathered to discuss their next steps. "We didn't ask for this war," one leader stated, his voice filled with frustration. "We have always sought peace with the council. Why would they turn against us now?" As humans prepared to respond to the declaration of war, they felt a mix of anger and determination. They knew they had to defend themselves and show the council that they were not the monsters they were painted to be. The fight was just beginning, and the spark of conflict had ignited a fire that would change the galaxy forever. With tensions running high and war looming on the horizon, both humans and the council stood on the brink of a new chapter. What started as a small fight had turned into a galactic crisis, and no one knew how it would end. The Galactic Council was in chaos. After the shocking vote to declare war on humans, the Grand Chamber felt like a boiling pot. Representatives from different species were arguing, and the air was thick with tension. Some members were excited about the decision, believing it would strengthen their power. Others were filled with doubt, fearing the consequences of such a drastic move. The Zorath faction led the charge, eager to exploit the situation. They held meetings in secret, gathering supporters and spreading their message. "Humans are a threat! We must act before they can harm us," they urged, their eyes gleaming with ambition. Their words echoed through the council, making many species uneasy. The Zorath were known for their intelligence, but their cunning often hid dangerous motives. Meanwhile, in the quieter corners of the council chamber, a group of more reasonable representatives gathered. They included members from the peaceful Aryan species and the wise Eldrins, who had a long history of diplomacy. "This is a mistake," an Aryan representative said, his voice calm yet firm. "Humans have always been allies. We cannot let fear guide our actions." But their voices were drowned out by the Zorath's fervor. The council continued to hear one-sided stories about the humans, painting them as ruthless aggressors. Reports flowed in from Varenthia, exaggerating the damage and chaos of the initial fight. "If we allow humans to exist unchecked, we will all suffer," a Zorath leader proclaimed. "They cannot be trusted." As the days passed, the council members found themselves in heated debates. The Zorath continued to manipulate the narrative, and fear spread like wildfire. Many council members began to see humans as a growing threat rather than allies. The council voted again, this time on whether to send a message to Earth demanding reparations for the Varenthian incident. The vote passed overwhelmingly, and the decision to escalate tensions became official. Back on Earth, the news of the council's demands arrived like a thunderstorm. The leaders of the human nations met in an emergency session. Shock and disbelief filled the room as they discussed their options. "They want us to pay for something we did not cause," a military leader said, pounding the table. "This is an insult!" "We cannot show weakness," another leader added. "If we give in now, we will only encourage more attacks in the future. We need to stand together." Determined not to be bullied, the leaders of Earth united. They called upon their scientists and military strategists to prepare for the worst. The message was clear: humanity would not bow down to threats. They began to mobilize their defenses, ready to showcase their strength if necessary. Back in the Galactic Council, tensions continued to rise. The vote to declare war had unleashed a storm of emotions. Species that once valued peace began to see the conflict as an opportunity for power and dominance. The Zorath faction smiled, seeing their plans come to fruition. During one particularly heated session, a young representative from the peaceful Eldrins stood up. "We cannot let fear dictate our actions," he pleaded. "This war will not solve our problems. It will only create more chaos." But his voice was lost in the roar of approval for the war plans. As the council prepared for war, whispers of rebellion began to surface among those who still believed in peace. Members from various species started to discuss forming a coalition to oppose the war. They wanted to reach out to humanity, to explain that not everyone in the council wanted conflict. But time was running out. The Zorath faction pressed forward with their plans, eager to launch an attack. The galaxy was on the brink of a battle that could change everything. As both sides prepared, the spark of war threatened to engulf the galaxy, leaving only ashes of what once was. The decision for war had been made, but the true consequences were still unknown. Would humanity rise to defend itself, or would they find a way to turn the tide back towards peace? The fate of countless lives hung in the balance, and the stage was set for a conflict that no one could truly understand. As the Galactic Council prepared for war, Earth's leaders gathered in a vast conference room filled with screens and maps. Tension hung in the air like a thick fog. They were faced with an unexpected challenge, a declaration of war from the council they once considered allies. But instead of panic, a sense of determination filled the room. "Together we are strong," declared General Martinez, a seasoned military leader. "We cannot let fear define us. We must show the council that humanity is not a threat, but a force to be reckoned with." His words resonated with the leaders, igniting a fire within them. The first step was to rally the citizens of Earth. A massive public announcement was made, urging everyone to unite. The message was clear: humanity would stand firm against any aggression. Citizens responded with pride, organizing themselves into support groups, volunteering for military training, and preparing for what lay ahead. Meanwhile, scientists and engineers worked around the clock to enhance Earth's defenses. They reviewed old technologies and came up with innovative ideas to bolster their fleet. The newly revived human fleet, known as the Star Vanguard, became the focus of their efforts. This fleet, hidden away for centuries, was humanity's last line of defense. Now it would play a crucial role in the upcoming conflict. As the days turned into weeks, the Star Vanguard was reassembled and upgraded. Ships, once dormant, now gleamed under the sun, ready to take to the stars. The leaders of Earth knew they had to send a message to the Galactic Council. They could not allow the Council to believe that humanity would back down. A plan was formed to send a fleet to the borders of Council space, a show of strength and unity. This would send a clear signal: humanity would not be pushed around. On the day of the launch, thousands gathered at the spaceports. Families, friends, and supporters cheered for the brave men and women who would be piloting the Star Vanguard. As the ships lifted off, the atmosphere buzzed with excitement and hope. This was not just a military mission, it was a fight for survival and honor. As the fleet traveled through space, tensions escalated in the Galactic Council. Council members were shocked to see the human fleet approach. News of humanity's preparations spread quickly, causing panic among those who had voted for war. "They are serious!" a Zorath representative shouted in a council meeting. "We must act before it is too late." But not everyone in the council was eager to fight. Some representatives began to voice their concerns, arguing that war was not the answer. "We need to talk to them," a wise Eldrin said. "This conflict can lead to nothing but destruction. We have to find a way to understand one another." Meanwhile, the human fleet reached the edge of council space. As they approached, the crew felt a mix of fear and excitement. They were prepared to defend their home, but they also hoped for a chance to communicate. Captain Ellis, a skilled and brave leader, took command of the flagship, the Horizon's Edge. "We are here to protect our people, but we also seek peace," he declared to his crew. "Let's show them who we are." The humans sent a message to the council, asking for a meeting to discuss their grievances. But the Zorath faction was determined to keep the conflict alive. They dismissed the humans' request, insisting that they were a threat that needed to be eliminated. As tensions rose, skirmishes began to break out at the edges of council space. Humans showcased their tactical skills, using clever maneuvers to outsmart their opponents. The Star Vanguard proved to be more powerful than anyone expected, surprising the council with their effectiveness in battle. The tide was turning, and the humans were determined to show their strength and resolve. They were ready to fight, but they also held on to the hope that peace could still be achieved. As the conflict deepened, both sides prepared for what was to come, unaware that the true battle would not just be fought in space, but in the hearts and minds of those involved. The conflict between humanity and the Galactic Council intensified as both sides prepared for battle. On one side, the Star Vanguard stood strong, fueled by determination and the desire to protect their home. On the other, the Council's forces, led by the cunning Zorath faction, were eager to assert their dominance and crush what they saw as a growing threat. As skirmishes erupted along the borders of Council space, the atmosphere was charged with tension. Each encounter brought new challenges, testing the resolve and ingenuity of the human fleet. Captain Ellis and his crew on the Horizon's Edge faced the enemy with courage, using clever tactics to outmaneuver their opponents. "Stay focused and remember our training," Ellis reminded his crew as they prepared for another engagement. In the Galactic Council, fear spread like wildfire. Many species that had once viewed humans as allies now saw them as a menace. The Zorath faction seized this opportunity, using propaganda to rally support. "Humans are coming for us," they declared. "We must unite against them or risk our very existence." Their words fueled panic among the council members, pushing them further towards war. As the council debated their next move, the once peaceful conversations turned into angry arguments. The wise Eldrin representatives tried to calm the storm. "We cannot let fear guide us," one pleaded. "We must reach out to humanity and seek a peaceful resolution." But the Zorath faction dismissed these ideas, insisting that the only solution was to destroy the human threat. Meanwhile, on the front lines, the human fleet faced increasing opposition. The Council's forces were not as disorganized as they seemed. They began to coordinate their attacks, creating a formidable challenge for the Star Vanguard. In one fierce battle, a large Zorath warship confronted the Horizon's Edge, its cannons firing relentlessly. "Brace for impact!" Ellis shouted, his heart racing as he ordered evasive maneuvers. The battle was fierce. The humans used their superior strategy and technology, but the Zorath were relentless. Just when it seemed like the humans might gain the upper hand, a surprise attack from the Council's reinforcements turned the tide. The humans fought bravely, but losses began to mount, and hope started to wane. As the fighting escalated, whispers of rebellion grew among the Council members who still believed in peace. They began to meet secretly, discussing ways to reach out to humanity and stop the bloodshed. "We cannot allow this war to continue," one Aryan representative said. It will only bring more suffering. Despite the chaos, news of these secret meetings reached some human leaders. Captain Ellis, hearing of the dissent within the council, saw an opportunity. If there are those who want peace, we must find a way to communicate with them, he said to his crew. We can't let the Zorath speak for all. In the midst of the battles, a surprising event occurred. A Zorath warship, damaged and drifting, sent out a distress signal. Against all odds, the Horizon's Edge responded, and Ellis ordered a rescue mission. We may be at war, but we can still show humanity, he said. The crew worked together, risking their own safety to save the alien crew members. This act of bravery shocked the Galactic Council. Many representatives were torn between their fears and the humanity displayed by the humans. The Zorath faction, however, was furious. "They are trying to trick us!" one shouted. "We cannot trust them!" As battles raged on, the human fleet continued to show unexpected kindness, taking care of wounded enemies and treating them with respect. Slowly, whispers of a potential peace began to circulate among the council. Some representatives started to speak out against the war, urging others to consider the possibility of dialogue. However, the Zorath faction would not easily let go of their plans. They intensified their attacks, hoping to force humanity into submission before peace could take root. The war escalated into a series of brutal confrontations, with both sides suffering heavy losses. The galaxy was on the brink of disaster. As the humans fought fiercely to protect their right to exist, they clung to the hope that there were still voices within the council willing to seek peace. But with each battle, the path to understanding seemed to grow more distant, and the shadows of war loomed ever larger. The stage was set for a final confrontation that could determine the fate of both humanity and the Galactic Council. The galaxy was on edge. The war between humanity and the Galactic Council had escalated into chaos, with both sides suffering heavy losses. Each battle seemed to deepen the divide, but in the shadows a flicker of hope emerged. Whispers of peace began to spread among some council members who longed for a resolution to the bloodshed. On the front lines, Captain Ellis and his crew aboard the Horizon's Edge prepared for what could be the final battle. They had fought bravely, but the toll was heavy. Ellis knew that they needed to make a bold move to turn the tide. "We must show the Council that we are not just fighters, but a people who seek peace," he told his crew. They nodded, determined to stand for what was right. Meanwhile, the Zorath faction plotted their next move. They were determined to crush the humans once and for all. "We must hit them hard," a Zorath leader declared in a council meeting. "Only then will they understand that resistance is futile." Fear and anger fueled their plans, and they aimed to launch a massive attack against the human fleet. As the day of the planned assault approached, the council was divided. Some members, including the Eldrins and Aryans, pushed for a peaceful resolution. "This war serves no one," an Eldrin representative urged. "We can't let a few aggressive factions dictate our future. We must reach out to the humans." The Zorath, however, silenced these voices. They spread rumors of human treachery, further igniting fear among the council members. "If we don't act now, they will come for us next," they warned. The council remained tense, unable to agree on a path forward. On the eve of the decisive battle, Captain Ellis received a message from a group of council members who secretly wanted peace. "We want to help you," the message read. "If you can hold off the Zorath, we can negotiate a ceasefire." Ellis felt a surge of hope. "We can do this," he said to his crew. "We must hold our ground just a little longer." As dawn broke, the human fleet stood ready. The Horizon's Edge led the charge, joined by several allied ships that had been inspired by humanity's acts of compassion. The Zorath fleet approached, massive and menacing. "Prepare for battle!" their commanders shouted, eager to crush the human resistance. The two fleets clashed in a fierce confrontation, beams of energy lighting up the darkness of space. The sounds of explosions echoed and chaos erupted as ships maneuvered to gain the upper hand. Humans fought valiantly, determined to protect their right to exist and show the Council their true nature. In the midst of the battle, Ellis spotted the Zorath flagship, a massive vessel adorned with intimidating spikes. "If we can take out their command ship, we might break their morale," he said. Rallying his crew, they set a course for the flagship, engaging in a dangerous dance through enemy fire. As they drew closer, the Zorath flagship unleashed a barrage of weapons. The Horizon's Edge shook under the assault, but Ellis pushed forward. "We can't give up now!" he yelled, inspiring his crew to keep fighting. With skilled maneuvers, they evaded the enemy fire, making their way toward the flagship. Suddenly, just as they were about to strike, a series of bright flashes lit up the battlefield. A group of council ships, led by the Eldrins and Aryans, appeared alongside the humans. "We have come to help!" a voice crackled over the comms. The council members had chosen to stand with humanity, rejecting the Zorath's warlike ways. Together, the combined forces of humans and peace-seeking council members struck at the Zorath flagship. The Zorath were caught off guard, their resolve shaken. As the flagship began to falter, the tide of battle shifted. Seeing their leaders losing ground, many Zorath soldiers hesitated. The realization that their actions had led to unnecessary suffering began to sink in. In that moment, a message spread through the Zorath ranks: "We must end this." As the flagship crumbled, the Zorath faction realized the war could not continue. The alliance of humans and peaceful council members proved stronger than their fear. With the Zorath in retreat, the battle came to a close. In the aftermath, representatives from both sides met to discuss a ceasefire. Captain Ellis and the Eldrin leaders stood together, a symbol of hope for the future. "Let this be a new beginning," Ellis said, his voice strong. "We can learn from each other and build a peaceful galaxy together." The galaxy breathed a sigh of relief as the threat of war faded. While scars from the conflict would remain, a new era of cooperation and understanding began. Humanity had not only fought for survival, but had also shown the galaxy the power of compassion and unity. The final showdown had transformed enemies into allies, paving the way for a brighter future.